Welcome to the Total Wellness Solutions Academy online radio network. I'm Dave, and our mission is simple. We help families make informed decisions that strengthens their overall financial well-being.
This is the brief on recession-resistant household spending. Now, while economic downturns definitely squeeze our wallets, understanding how consumer spending shifts is literally a financial game changer, making this the perfect quick primer before we dive into our full 20-minute conversation coming right up. You see, human behavior drives business models, which in turn drive our shopping habits. So first, let's look at needs versus wants. During tough times, people don't just stop spending, they reorganize. We might postpone a family vacation or hold off on a new car, but are we going to stop buying toothpaste, soap, or laundry detergent? No way. These recurring household needs are absolutely recession-resistant. Second, because these essentials are always in demand, how they're made matters immensely to our wallets. Companies using vertical integration, meaning they develop, manufacture, and sell their own goods, really control their own value. To put that in perspective, while traditional retail brands have seen a crazy 20 to 30% inflation since 2020, vertically integrated US-made direct models kept price increases to just 5 to 10%. Finally, that pricing stability directly fuels smarter shopping models for everyday families. Shifting your regular spending to a direct-to-home shopping club provides consistent value, better quality, and a super predictable supply. Plus, this model can even offer an optional opportunity to generate recurring monthly income you can actually pass down to future generations. True financial resilience comes from smarter habits, so definitely stick around for our full 20-minute show to unpack exactly how to apply this to your own life.
Now let's welcome our guests, Alex and Emma. What a fascinating topic we have today. Take it away, you guys.
So when a recession hits, you probably think, people just completely stop spending money.
Right. They just lock away the wallets.
Exactly. You picture everyone immediately bracing for impact and tightening the belt.
Mm.
But the data shows something, it shows the exact opposite for certain items.
Yeah, it really does. It's actually a fascinating area of behavioral economics.
It is. Because when the economy tanks, a hidden segment of consumer spending actually, speeds up. So today, our mission for this deep dive is to explore the strange, completely counterintuitive science of recession-resistant purchases.
Right. We're going to look at what we actually keep buying when the economy falls apart.
And more importantly, why understanding the mechanics behind this matters so much for your own family's financial resilience. So, okay, let's unpack this because we are pulling from some really incredible resources today.
You really are.
Yeah, we've got historical consumer spending analysis from the Federal Reserve, the USDA, and the National Bureau of Economic Research.
And we usually look at recessions through this massive macro lens, right? Like GDP and stock market tickers on the news.
Oh, totally. The panic-inducing headlines.
Exactly. But the real story, the one that actually matters, happens in the grocery aisles and the household budget. So our goal here is to look past the news cycle and examine the actual economic principles that dictate how money moves when times get incredibly tough.
Okay, so before we can really talk about how to protect our own wallets, I feel like we need to establish what actually gets cut from a budget when money gets tight.
Right. And what fiercely stays.
Yeah, because there is this persistent myth out there of the perfectly recession-proof product. I mean, I hear it all the time. People claiming certain industries are just totally immune to an economic crash.
Well, any economist will tell you the term recession-proof is just a complete misnomer.
Wait, really? Nothing at all?
Nothing is entirely immune to a severe economic downturn. And the more accurate term is recession-resistant, and that is driven by an economic principle called demand elasticity.
Demand elasticity. Okay, break that down for us.
So it basically measures how sensitive the demand for a specific good is to a drop in consumers' income.
So it's less like an on-off light switch and maybe more like, a thermostat, where you aren't completely cutting the power, you're just dialing the temperature up or down depending on the category of the item.
That is actually a much better way to visualize it.
Yeah.
Yes. We generally divide consumer goods into durable goods and non-durable necessities.
Okay.
So durable goods are highly elastic. These are things like cars, appliances, or a new living room sofa.
Stuff that lasts a long time.
Right. And when a recession hits, the purchase of those durable goods faces a sharp, dramatic decline because the mechanism of the purchase allows for postponement.
Oh, I see. You can just choose to drive your old car for another year.
Exactly. You can keep the old couch. The utility of the item you already own hasn't vanished just because the economy took a hit.
I always think of the household budget like a hot air balloon that's like suddenly losing altitude.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. You throw the heavy luxury luggage overboard first to stay afloat. So the vacation, the new TV, the couch, those get tossed. But you fiercely guard the emergency rations and the fuel, like, the groceries, the toothpaste, the laundry soap.
And that perfectly describes the other side of this, the non-durable necessities. They operate on a completely different frequency. They are the income inelastic goods.
The fuel for the balloon.
Exactly. This includes basic health items, daily hygiene products, household operations, and food. I mean, as your income falls, your biological and societal need to wash your clothes, brush your teeth, or feed your family, that doesn't decrease.
It can't. You can't just stop doing those things.
Right. And the USDA compiled some brilliant data on this following the Great Recession of 2008. They tracked spending patterns and found that restaurant spending, which is a discretionary luxury...
Highly elastic.
Highly elastic, exactly. It dropped off a cliff. But grocery spending, what they categorize as food at home, remained incredibly stable. People still have to eat. The biological requirement doesn't change.
So the only thing that changes is the environment where the food is prepared.
Precisely.
It makes me think of, honestly, the ultimate unglamorous necessity, toilet paper.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it's a recurring fundamental need that we simply cannot postpone no matter what the Dow Jones is doing today.
Yeah.
You don't look at a tumbling stock market and decide to just skip buying toilet paper for a month.
No, you definitely don't. And that proves that difficult economies do not eliminate basic human routines. However, even with those necessities, we do see shifts in the mechanism of how people buy them.
What do you mean?
Well, the core category demand remains, but the consumer might switch to a generic brand, right?
Yeah.
Or they buy in larger bulk quantities, or they hunt aggressively for sales.
Okay, that brings up something really interesting. The need to guard those basic rations. It isn't just triggered by massive national economic events, is it?
Not at all.
Right, because you don't need a Wall Street crash to feel that panic. And the answer is because essential does not mean brand proof.
Brand proof.
Right. The need for the broad category survives, yes. But the specific brand or the packaging or the physical store you buy it from, they still have to fight tooth and nail for the consumer's dollar.
Oh, so the competition actually gets fiercer.
Exactly. Under financial pressure, the consumer becomes hyper-selective about who gets the privilege of fulfilling that essential need.
So the loyalty shifts, even if the need itself doesn't.
You nailed it. And the USDA data on food spending illustrates this perfectly. I mean, food is the ultimate essential, right?
Obviously.
But during the Great Recession, and then we saw this again during the 2020 pandemic, the format of how we bought food shifted massively.
Right.
Restaurant spending, which the USDA calls food away from home, that just fell off a cliff.
Which makes sense.
But meanwhile, grocery spending, or food at home, it surged. So the biological need for calories didn't disappear at all.
No, people still had to eat.
Right. But the channel through which consumers acquired those calories, it changed dramatically, practically overnight. And this brings us to a crucial concept in the data, which is the personal recession.
Yeah, this is so important. We typically think of recessions as these sprawling systemic events declared by news anchors and politicians.
Right, like it's an official decree.
Exactly. But Federal Reserve data reveals this startling truth about the modern economy. The most devastating economic shocks actually happen regardless of what the national GDP is doing.
Okay, wait, let me push back on that for a second.
Sure.
Are you saying that even if the stock market is having a banner year and the national economy is technically booming, according to all the experts on TV, a huge portion of the listeners right now might basically be operating in a survival mode personal recession?
Yes, absolutely.
How does that actually happen in a booming economy?
Well, the microeconomic data shows this clearly. Think about the life events that dictate a single household's cash flow.
Okay.
Sudden layoffs in a specific industry, maybe, or reduced overtime hours at work, major unexpected medical bills, a divorce, or, suddenly needing to take on caregiving responsibilities for an aging parent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. These are localized shocks. But to that specific family, the macroeconomy is completely irrelevant. These life events force them to drastically reorganize their spending right then and there.
And I imagine their behavior immediately mimics macro recession behavior.
Exactly. They experience the exact same financial pressure and make the exact same ruthless budget cuts as if the entire country were in a deep depression.
So financial resilience isn't just something you think about once a decade when the news tells you to panic. It's an active, daily defensive posture.
It has to be. Building a household budget around recession-resistant principles is essential all the time because you really never know when a personal shock will hit. It is, frankly, the only way to insulate your microeconomy.
Okay, I want to get into the minds of the consumers here. Once that shock hits, whether it's national or deeply personal, how does human behavior actually change in the grocery aisles?
Well,
Because as you noted earlier with the USDA data, we don't just stop buying basic hygiene products or food, but the mechanism of the shopping trip shifts, right?
it does. It's a profound psychological shift in how we value our resources. There's this research from the National Bureau of Economic Research, the NBER, where they studied household behavior during the Great Recession.
Okay, and what did they find?
They documented a phenomenon where consumers essentially begin to substitute time and effort for money.
Substituting time for money, like someone's spending 3 hours driving to 4 different grocery stores just to save $15 on their overall grocery bill.
Exactly that. The opportunity cost of their time changes drastically. When cash is abundant, convenience is king.
Right.
But when cash is scarce, consumers become incredibly active, labor-intensive shoppers. They hunt for sales, they clip coupons, they meticulously compare unit prices.
It's switched to generic store brands, I assume.
Yep. They are trying to stretch every single dollar. But this raises a major behavioral trap that the NBER data hints at, and it's a trap so many stressed consumers fall into.
What's the trap?
It's failing to understand the difference between finding the cheapest sticker price and finding actual cost per use value.
Oh, the illusion of the bargain.
Yes.
I see this happen constantly. You're stressed about money, you walk into a big box store, and your brain just locks on to the absolute lowest price tag on the shelf.
It is a natural survival instinct, honestly, but a deeply flawed economic strategy.
How so?
Well, when money is tight, you want the cheapest item. But a cheap product that is heavily diluted with water or performs so poorly that you have to use twice as much to get the job done.
Right. Or it breaks and needs constant replacement.
Exactly. That is a false economy. It ultimately drains the household of more cash over, say, a 6-month period. True financial defense requires understanding the actual cost of a product each time you use it.
You know, here's where it gets really interesting. I always think of this through the lens of a great analogy I read once about buying boots.
Oh, the boots theory.
Yeah, it's the idea that being poor is actually incredibly expensive. Because if money is tight, you might buy a $20 pair of work boots. But because they are cheap, the soles wear out in a month. So over the course of a year, you have to buy 12 pairs of those cheap boots, spending $240 total.
Right.
Now, if you had just bought a high-quality, durable pair of boots for $100 up front, they would have lasted the entire year. So the person who bought the cheap boots spent $140 more and still ended up with wet feet.
That's a perfect analogy.
When we are stressed, we often look entirely at the immediate sticker price, but real financial defense requires calculating the cost per step, or, in the case of household goods, the cost per use.
You're listening to the Total Wellness Solutions Academy. We'll return to today's discussion in just a moment. If you're just joining us, thank you for listening. Stay with us as Alex and Emma continue today's conversation right here on the Total Wellness Solutions streaming audio network.
That is the exact metric that matters. Cost per use, cost per load of laundry, cost per ounce of the actual active ingredient rather than cost per massive plastic bottle that's mostly filled with water.
Right.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. So we're talking about the math of the mundane.
I love that phrase.
Yeah. These are small purchases, but they repeat constantly. It actually reminds me of an analogy.
Let's hear.
It is the difference between a shattered window and a leaky faucet.
Oh, okay.
If a rock flies through your living room window, it's an emergency, it's loud, it's a huge one-time expense to fix it. And we tend to hyperfixate on the shattered windows in our budgets.
Like replacing a TV or a broken refrigerator.
Exactly. But the leaky faucet, it's just a drip. You barely even notice it.
Right.
But over weeks and months and years, that leaky faucet quietly drains the entire reservoir.
Wow.
Your recurring household goods are the leaky faucet.
That is spot on. The economic significance of these items comes entirely from their frequency.
Right.
Shaving 10 cents off a product you use every single day compounds significantly over dozens or hundreds of transactions.
Yeah, it adds up fast.
A massive discount on the television.
Yeah.
That happens once a decade. But the math of the mundane is what actually dictates a family's long-term liquidity.
And if true value and reliable cost per use are the ultimate goals for a stressed household trying to survive a personal recession, we really have to look behind the curtain at the supply chain.
Okay, let's go there.
Because the physical mechanism of how a product is made and how many hands it passes through before it gets to your house directly dictates how much you are overpaying.
So if we know that retail markups and diluted products are quietly draining our wallets, who is actually solving this supply chain problem? I mean, traditional retail seems fundamentally broken if you are looking for true cost per use value.
It is. And to illustrate how this is being solved, we can look at the direct-to-consumer model as a case study.
Okay.
There are large wellness shopping clubs that operate on a principle called vertical integration, and that is essentially the ultimate defense mechanism against supply chain inflation.
Vertical integration. Let's break that down for the listener. What does that actually mean in practice?
So vertical integration means a company owns and controls its entire supply chain rather than outsourcing it.
From start to finish.
Pretty much. They research and develop their own proprietary formulas, they manufacture the goods in their own facilities, and then they ship them directly to the end consumer.
So they completely cut out the traditional retail middlemen.
Exactly.
And why are those middlemen so dangerous to the consumer's wallet, especially during a recession?
Because of compounding margins.
Compounding margins.
Yeah, think about the traditional retail model. A product goes from a third-party manufacturer to a packaging supplier, then to a national distributor, to a regional wholesaler, and finally to a massive big box store.
That is a lot of hands.
It is. And if a macroeconomic shock hits, say, fuel prices spike, every single one of those 5 middlemen raises their price by like 5% to protect their own profit margins.
Oh, wow. So it just snowballs.
It compounds. By the time that bottle of laundry detergent hits the grocery store shelf, you, the consumer, are paying 25 to 30% more.
Just to cover everyone else's panic.
Exactly. And the data point on this is stark. Following the recent global supply chain disruptions, we saw traditional retail brands experience massive inflation, with prices spiking up to 30%.
I remember that. It was painful at the register.
But vertically integrated, direct-to-consumer models were able to maintain remarkable pricing stability. Some saw only 5 to 10% increases during that exact same chaotic period.
Wait, really? So by skipping the massive TV commercial budgets and skipping the celebrity endorsements and the fight for premium eye-level shelf space at the supermarket, all those billions of dollars are theoretically injected back into keeping the quality high and the price stable when inflation hits.
That is the mechanical advantage of the model, yes. And independent organizations actually track this. Forbes recently conducted a massive survey of millions of consumers across thousands of brands.
Okay, what did they find?
They recognized a prominent direct-to-consumer wellness company as a #2 best brand for value in America.
Oh, wow.
Which really highlights that a vertically integrated Model 1 focused strictly on the relationship between price and effectiveness can compete with and often beat the massive traditional retail giants.
And they are doing this with the exact kind of products we talked about earlier, right? The non-durable necessities.
Yes. They focus on a catalog of everyday essentials. Personal care, dental care, medicine cabinet staples, household cleaning supplies, and laundry detergents that are highly concentrated.
Going back to that cost per use idea.
Exactly. And importantly, wellness and health supplements. For instance, they utilize proprietary technologies like oligo technology for their supplements.
Okay, wait, pause right there. Oligo technology sounds a little like science fiction. What does that actually mean for the person taking the vitamin every morning?
It's a great question. So in standard, cheap retail vitamins, the minerals often just pass right through your digestive system.
Because your body doesn't absorb them.
Right, because your body doesn't easily absorb raw, processed minerals. But the mechanism of oligo technology essentially binds those minerals to proteins and fibers before you even consume them.
Oh, interesting.
So when you take it, your body recognizes the supplement as actual food, like a piece of fruit or a vegetable, dramatically increasing the absorption rate.
So it's a difference between paying for a vitamin your body actually uses versus one it literally just flushes away.
Exactly. Again, it comes back to the true cost per use. You aren't getting value if your body isn't absorbing it, no matter how cheap the bottle was.
Okay, so having a stable price is fantastic, and having high-quality, highly absorbed, concentrated products totally makes sense for the budget.
Right.
But, I mean, a business model only actually survives if people keep coming back month after month. How does consumer loyalty factor into this economic equation?
Well, consumer loyalty is the engine that makes the entire vertically integrated model work. The manufacturer we are using as our case study, they have over 2 million customers shopping every month, and they maintain a staggering 96% monthly reorder rate.
Hold on, let me just play the skeptic for a second on behalf of the listener.
Please do.
Because a 96% reorder rate sounds absolutely amazing for the corporate boardroom. But let's be real. Doesn't convenience sometimes have a hidden cost? Like the mental load of managing a monthly membership. I mean, in the real world, convenient monthly subscriptions usually turn into a graveyard of unused products rotting under the bathroom sink.
That is a very fair point.
Right. People get tricked into subscribing, they forget to cancel, and they end up paying for stuff they don't need. How does a family know they are actually coming out ahead? How is a 96% reorder rate not just evidence of stressed people getting trapped in a subscription?
It is a critical question, and convenience absolutely can be a financial trap if the items aren't true necessities. But you have to look at the data of what is being ordered.
Okay.
We aren't talking about a monthly box of novelty hot sauces or luxury cosmetics. We are talking about toothpaste, laundry detergent, and daily vitamins.
The balloon fuel.
Yes. A 96% reorder rate in a non-durable, highly consumable category proves the opposite of a trap. It proves rapid, necessary consumption. If a household is buying a laundry detergent that is so highly concentrated it lasts 4 times as long as the watered-down grocery store brand, their actual cost per load drops significantly. They use it up, they see the financial savings, and they willingly order it again.
So the value has to be proven in the actual usage month after month. The product has to actually empty out.
Exactly. And from a macroeconomic perspective, that consistency creates massive operational advantages for the manufacturer.
Because they know what people are going to buy.
Yes. When a company can precisely predict their monthly demand with 96% accuracy, they run incredibly efficiently. They don't overproduce goods that sit in warehouses gathering dust.
Right, which costs money.
Their inventory stays constantly fresh. Their waste drops to near zero. And that immense back-end efficiency is what subsidizes the stable pricing and higher quality ingredients for the consumer on the front end.
That makes a lot of sense. The predictability completely removes the financial risk for the manufacturer, and they basically pass that safety net down to the shopper.
That's a great way to summarize it.
You're listening to the Total Wellness Solutions Academy. We'll return to today's final segment in just a moment. Thank you for joining our broadcast. We hope you found this conversation informative, thought-provoking, and worthwhile. Be sure to follow our broadcast and let us know if you have any questions or suggestions for future topics. And now, back to our concluding segment of this program's discussion.
Okay, so we've covered how to defend the household budget by spending smarter on essentials, right? We understand the trap of the sticker price versus cost per use and utilizing stable supply chains. But there is a final piece to surviving a personal recession, and it isn't just about saving money.
No, it's not.
It's about the potential to buffer the income side of the equation.
Right, because financial pressure doesn't just change how we spend. It often forces households to critically evaluate how they earn. And this direct-to-consumer model has a unique approach to this, rooted entirely in how they handle their advertising budget.
Oh, right, we touched on this earlier. They don't do massive TV ad buys or pay for celebrity endorsements.
Right, they rely on word of mouth. Think about where traditional advertising dollars go.
To agencies, mostly.
Yeah, a standard retail brand might spend hundreds of millions of dollars paying advertising agencies, television networks, and social media platforms just to get your attention.
Sure.
The direct-to-consumer model diverts that entire cash flow. Instead of paying a corporate ad agency, they use an optional referral compensation program.
So they pay the customers.
Yes. When a member refers a new customer to the shopping club, the company compensates that member directly. To date, over $8 billion has been paid out to everyday families through these referral incentives.
Wait, $8 billion.
$8 billion!
When you step back and look at the mechanics of that, it is a massive redirection of wealth.
It really is.
I mean, it flips the traditional retail economy completely upside down. Instead of a corporation paying an advertising agency millions of dollars for a 30-second commercial during a football game, they are essentially redirecting that money to the households that actually use and recommend the products.
That is the exact mechanism. It is an advertising diversion strategy. However, to keep this intellectually honest, we do have to look closely at the data regarding who actually participates in this.
Because the immediate skeptical assumption is that everyone is just there to chase the referral money, right? Like it's a hustle.
Exactly, but the statistics show that 82% of the members in this wellness club are simply happy, long-term customers who never participate in the referral program at all.
Oh, wow. Really? So the vast majority of the millions of people shopping there are just doing it for the groceries and the vitamins?
Yes.
They aren't treating it as a side hustle.
And that is the ultimate proof of the product's core economic value. It proves that the income aspect is a flexible, entirely optional choice, not a requirement to justify buying the products.
Because the products have to stand on their own merit for that 82%.
Exactly. But for the 18% who do choose to share it, it creates an opportunity for a recurring monthly income stream.
Which is huge during a personal recession.
Absolutely. Unlike a traditional job where your schedule, your hourly rate, and your job security are controlled by a single employer, which we know can be incredibly precarious during a macro recession, this provides a supplementary, diversified buffer.
You know, this sounds entirely different from those unsustainable hype models where people are just recruiting each other and buying garages full of inventory they can't actually sell.
It is fundamentally different because it is based on the organic consumption of non-durable goods. No one is stockpiling thousands of dollars of toothpaste in their garage.
Right. They're just brushing their teeth.
Yes, they are simply redirecting their normal monthly grocery spending to a more efficient manufacturer, and the manufacturer is paying them a commission for the referral out of the money they saved by not buying a billboard.
It's just a highly efficient closed-loop system.
And from an estate planning perspective, these ongoing recurring income streams from customer referrals can often be passed down to future generations.
Wait, legacy planning?
Yes, adding a layer of generational financial security that is almost non-existent in standard retail environments.
That is fascinating. It really takes the concept of a recession-resistant purchase and expands it into a much broader strategy for household stability.
It really does.
We've covered an enormous amount of ground today, pulling from a lot of heavy economic theory.
Yeah, if we synthesize the main takeaways from the Federal Reserve, the USDA, and the supply chain data, it really comes down to a shift in philosophy.
How would you summarize it?
Economic resilience isn't about panicking and simply stopping your spending when things get scary because you can't stop buying the essentials. It's about shifting your mindset away from the cheapest sticker price and toward actual cost per use.
Right.
It's about relying on vertically integrated stability to protect you from the compounding inflation of the retail middleman. And it's about leveraging the recurring necessities you have to buy anyway to protect your household from external shocks.
Because you cannot control the macroeconomy no matter how much you watch the news.
No, you can't.
But you have absolute control over your own microeconomy.
Precisely. The power lies in where you choose to direct your inevitable monthly spending.
I love that phrase, your microeconomy. So here's a final provocative thought for you to mull over as we wrap up today's deep dive.
Let's hear it.
Next time you are standing in your kitchen or your bathroom, I want you to just look around at the items you use every single day. The soap by the sink, the vitamins in the cabinet, the laundry detergent in the hallway.
The necessities.
The necessities. If a localized personal recession hit your life tomorrow, a sudden medical bill, a shift in your work hours, how many of those everyday essentials are truly giving you resilient, highly concentrated value?
That's the real question.
And how many are just quietly draining your wallet, forcing you to pay for a massive retail brand's expensive advertising and inefficient supply chain? The national economy might be a giant, unpredictable machine, but your household is your own microeconomy. You get to decide exactly what stays and what goes.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope today's conversation gave you something worth thinking about. Join us again next time as we continue exploring ideas that help families improve their overall wellness by shopping smarter and building better financial futures. Until then, take care.